Are we truly making the most of our workday? Or are there hidden pockets of productivity just waiting to be discovered? Well, in today's episode of Tech Talks Daily, we're going to dive deep into the world of business technology. Yes, I'm your host, Neil Hughes, and today I'm going to be joined by the magnificent Sam Naficy, CEO of a company called Prodoscore, which is a cutting-edge employee productivity tool that is helping reshape how we understand and enhance employee productivity. A tool that's reshaping how we understand and enhance workplace efficiency. And Sam has also got an incredible backstory. His journey as a serial entrepreneur is nothing short of inspiring, and his insights into the evolving landscape of employee productivity are set to challenge and equally enlighten all of our perspectives on work and success. And to top it all, he's a great guy too. Now, before we go into today's interview though, I just wanted to talk for a moment about how legacy managed file transfer tools are becoming dated and lack the security that today's remote workforce demands. And companies that continue relying on outdated technology are putting their sensitive data at risk, because managed file transfer, or MFT, is a technology platform that allows organisations to reliably exchange electronic data between systems and people within and outside the enterprise, securely and in compliance with applicable regulations. Now, this is just one of the many reasons that I'm partnering up with a company called Kiteworks, who are the sponsors of Tech Talks Daily. But the main reason I'm working with them is that they're offering a world-class secure file sharing and email platform that is making it easier for end users to send automated or ad hoc files, all via fully integrated shared folders and email. As an ex-IT guy and the host of a tech podcast, making it easier for end users to send automated ad hoc files via fully integrated shared folders and email in a secure way ticks so many boxes for me. So please, step into the future of secured managed file transfer with Kiteworks. Visit kiteworks.com to get started. That's kiteworks.com to get started today. And now, on with today's show. So buckle up and hold on tight, because no matter where you're listening in the world, I'm going to be beaming your ears all the way to Los Angeles, where Sam is waiting to share his story. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell everyone listening a little about who you are and what you do?
Good morning, Neil. I'm Sam Naficy. I'm the CEO of Prodoscore currently, and have been kind of a SaaS CEO in the software as a service space for the past 25, 28 years.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you on the podcast today. And for people listening, hearing about Prodoscore for the very first time, can you just tell everyone listening a little about what it is, and also the evolution of the company as well, from its conception to its current state? Because I suspect there's a bit of a story there too, right?
Well, absolutely, Neil. The company's roughly 4.5, 5 years old. I joined about 4 years ago. And in a nutshell, we provide employee productivity, capturing all APIs and cloud tools that are used by employees in the course of their daily functions, and use AI and machine learning in providing a proprietary score. Initially, that was the foundation of the product. And it's morphed and evolved now in the last, let's say, 2 years into showing what is good in an employee's day, week, month performance, and how do we replicate that? How do we replicate what is good, and how do we drive that success across a broader enterprise solution?
And for anyone listening that has just had that knee-jerk reaction and jumped to the negative side of things, a question I've got to ask on behalf of everyone is, how do you balance that employee privacy need with the need for productivity insights? Because I would imagine it can be quite a tricky balance. We read the horror stories about businesses that have got it wrong, but I know you're completely the opposite end of that scale, and you're trying to do it the right way and ensure people's well-being and productivity as well. But can you tell me a little bit more about that balance?
Absolutely. We tend to be very employee-friendly and employee-centric. Unlike many of the products that are out there that are what we call agent-based, that are very invasive, very surveillance, big brother, we are not that at all. We're fully cloud-based, only capturing the APIs from the cloud tools that the employees use in the scope of their work. So we're not capturing URLs, camera movements, keystrokes. None of that is what we do. We are simply capturing the tools they're using, for example, email, CRM solutions, chat functions like Slack, LinkedIn, DocuSign, a phone system maybe. So all the tools that the employer currently has access to, we're utilizing the APIs from them using our proprietary AI mechanism around it to provide this kind of tool and a scoring system.
And I always like to find out more about my guests and their origin story and background, because I think very often it shapes the way that you see the world now and indeed in the future. So can you tell everyone listening about your diverse entrepreneurial background and how that might have maybe helped influence the development of Prodoscore too?
Yeah, look, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I was an immigrant to the U.S. roughly 40 years ago, and kind of the typical fortunate, the American dream came, really worked hard, hustled both academically and professionally. And after a number of failures, like we tend to all have, if you try hard enough, you tend to have many failures. I was lucky with my prior company that I founded and ran for 20 years, and then joined Prodoscore as an investor initially. And then I stepped in as CEO, as I mentioned, about 3 years ago. So look, this is what this country provides. Hard work and opportunity leads to hopefully some modicum of success.
Absolutely love that. You really do have an inspiring backstory. And for Prodoscore, what would you say, you mentioned there how the things that you solve there, the problems that you solve for your clients, but how would you say, or what makes you stand out in the crowd from all the other productivity tools in the market? Because it is arguably a crowded market. I'd love to hear more about what makes you guys so different from the others.
Yeah, Neil, so what I'll take a step back here and give an analogy, because it's a new category analogous to, let's say, what CRM tools were 20, 25 years ago. There was a lot of pushback initially for CRM tools. Salespeople didn't like it. Management didn't like it. They felt it would be invasive. Salespeople were using Excel sheets or a notepad to manage their pipelines. Then CRM tools became readily available. And now we know Salesforce is the big player and is ubiquitous. Another analogy is, for example, call recording and analytics functions like a Gong. Gong created a new category 8-10 years ago. Major pushback initially. There was a lot of concern about that. And that's now become ubiquitous and part of the tech stack of the enterprise culture. We believe employee productivity, broadly defined, is inevitably going to become part of the tech stack of the corporate world. And we're in the nascence of it. It's probably the first or second inning of that adoption. And as that, you got a lot of companies that come in and go out, and we believe we're going to be fortunate enough to be one of the few standing that provides a whole suite of services around employee engagement, employee productivity. And again, as I mentioned earlier, really finding what is good in each department, in each unit, and how we can replicate that. Taking it away from a subjective methodology to a much more objective methodology.
And just to bring to life some of what we're talking about here today, I don't expect you to name any names, but are there any success stories that you can share of how you've significantly improved a company's performance and obviously ultimately their productivity within that organization too? Is there any stories you can share with us today?
Sure. I'll give you a couple of examples. There was a large state government agency that came to us a couple of years ago, and the corporate entity, the government agency, wanted all the employees to come back to the office, and they were demanding that they drive an hour and a half each way to their office headquarters. And the employees were reluctant as this hybrid world started evolving during COVID and now post-COVID. They came to us and asked if there was a way that our tool could be used to provide the employees the flexibility they were coveting while providing the employer, the state agency, the accountability it was seeking. Initially, they started with a small subset in a kind of a de facto pilot or trial of about 50 employees. They then went to about 300 employees, and now roughly 5,000 employees of that government agency are on the platform using Prodoscore in their daily activity, and all of which were allowed to remain remote.
If we do have any business leaders or HR managers listening, and maybe they want to embark on a similar journey to this, but not sure where they should start and very considerate of getting it right, is there anything you can share around the ethical considerations you take into account when you begin implementing productivity tracking? Because again, very useful for people listening that know they need to do something, but knowing how to do it and those first steps, that's the thing that's often very tricky for business leaders.
I think, Neil, the initial concern, and this goes back to the new category and new category adoption, it's having the employers buy in, having the employees buy in, and we're very transparent. Our thesis has been full transparency for the entire organization. So employees get their own dashboard. They get their own weekly or daily emails regarding where they're stacking amongst their peers within a group. And when you have those driven and motivated employees, they love that. They love to see how they're comparing to their peers, how they can do to improve, what they can do to improve. And again, it provides the employer the visibility they want to have in one kind of dashboard setting versus disparate set of tools that they currently have access to.
And I'm curious now, you might not get to hear these stories, but is there an element of gamification in there? Do you naturally see employees organically sharing scores and competing with each other? Do you see any of that?
In most enterprises that this gets implemented in, we certainly do. Naturally, they're more competitive departments.
Yeah.
So the sales team is much more competitive in most organizations, and they're quota-driven. So there is a lot of kind of the competitive nature comes out. Well, other departments use it more for efficacy, functionality, accountability, dependability, all of that. So it depends on the department that's being used in. Most of our clients, I would say overwhelming majority, are using it across the enterprise. And it allows employees to have visibility to their own work, to their peers, middle management, and then the executive C-suite.
Love that. Healthy competition. I think that's absolutely brilliant. I can just imagine the kind of conversations and banter that takes place around that. And if I was to ask you to look in my virtual crystal ball here and look into the future, how do you see the future of workplace productivity evolving? And what role do you see Prodoscore playing in that future too?
I touched on it earlier, Neil. I think COVID and the pandemic expedited what was happening with the morphing and evolution into hybrid. I think it just made it become part of our daily existence and acceptance much more quickly and expeditiously. And I think for that to function well, for employers to be able to comfortably allow for that hybrid environment, maybe a couple of days in the office, 3 days remote, or a blend as such, they're going to want some kind of an employee productivity tool in their tech stack. And we firmly believe they will have, employees will now, moving forward, have an email platform, have a CRM platform, have some form of telephony, have a chat function like Slack, have LinkedIn access, have DocuSign. In conjunction with all of that, we believe they'll have something like Prodoscore. And as part of that tech stack, every employee will have all of that. And we think will be a big cog in that wheel moving forward. And our growth has exemplified that and shown a bit illustrative of that in the past 12, 18 months.
Incredibly cool. And as we come full circle now towards the end of our conversation today, if I was to ask you to look back throughout your career, I mean, you arrived in the US on with an incredible ethic of hard work and a little side hustle maybe as well, or a little hustle, should I say, as well. What advice would you give to young entrepreneurs who are now just starting out, aspiring to innovate in the SaaS or tech industry in the same way as you did back at the beginning of your career? Because you've been on an incredible journey. You've been on that roller coaster ride of tremendous highs and tremendous dips and experience and learned so much along the way. But any advice that you'd pass on to any young entrepreneurs listening today?
Yeah, look, I talk about this a lot. I'm a big, firm believer in laser-like focus.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurs, we tend to try to morph and pivot a lot more than we need to. I think having laser-like focus, being patient and allowing that focus to evolve and mature. Certainly, we've all pivoted our businesses. I'm not averse to pivoting, but I think being patient and having that laser-like focus, finding your market, finding your niche, and going after it, I think could be very profoundly kind of helpful in the long run. And also, I think most entrepreneurs have this, but I always like to repeat it, is follow your gut, follow your instinct. We tend to be good at that. I think that's part of the entrepreneur DNA, is going with our gut, going with our instinct. Don't forget that. As we build our businesses, we tend to forget our core values of what got us into being an entrepreneur, to taking those risks. Go with your gut, go with your instinct, have laser-like focus. I think those will lead to good outcomes.
Fantastic advice. And a big thank you for taking the time to share your invaluable insights and the things that you've learned and the great work you're doing around productivity. But I'm going to see if there's something we can do for you now, because some of the biggest names in business, VC funding and tech have either been guests or maybe even listened to this podcast on occasion. So is there a person that you'd love to have a private breakfast or lunch with? Who would it be and why? Because he or she might just listen and hear this, but let's see what we can manifest together. Who would it be?
Oh, I love that question. The first time I've been asked. Look, I'm a big podcast fan myself.
Yeah.
I listen to the All In podcast regularly. And I would love to have breakfast, lunch, whatever it is, time permits, just with Jason Calacanis. I think Jason gets this space well. Obviously, he's been a very successful VC. He talks about productivity. He talks about the future of work a lot on the show and has touched on stuff like this. So it would be an honor of a career to have a meal with him and just pick his brain and brainstorm with him.
Oh, wow. What a great choice. Jason, if you are hearing this, a fellow podcaster, a plea from the universe, please make this happen. If you do hear anything, let me know. I'd love to find out more about what you guys talk about. But we put it out into the universe, into the ether. Let's see what happens. And for anyone listening, just wanting to find out more about the work that you're doing and the everything we talked about today, where would you like to point everyone?
I think the best starting point, Neil, would be our website. Just prodoscore.com. There's a ton of information there, up-to-date information about what we do, how we do it, our team. My information is there. Would love to hear from anyone that may be interested.
Well, I always say at the end of every episode, technology works best when it brings people together. And I love how you've managed to leverage technology here and all those different tools that we all use every day to create an employee productivity tool, empowering teams to be more effective and productive. Incredibly cool what you're doing, but just thank you for sharing your story today.
Appreciate it, Neil. Thanks for the time.
So as we wrap up today's discussion with Sam, I think it's clear that the future of workplace productivity is not about working harder, but working smarter. And Prodoscore's innovative approach to measuring and improving performance through technology really stands testament to this. But I love how he's doing it the right way and putting the employees right at the heart of this, making it something that they're passionate about, that they enjoy. But it does leave us with a thought-provoking question. How will our own perceptions of productivity evolve in this hybrid remote in-office model that we're experiencing right now? And what role will technology play in that transformation? You've heard from me, you've heard from Sam today. I'd love for you to share your thoughts with me on this fascinating topic and join the conversation. It's something that impacts every single person listening, so I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. So email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, just @Neil C. Hughes. But that's it. We're out of time today. So until next time on Tech Talks Daily, keep pushing the boundaries of technology and its applications in our daily lives. Thanks for listening. I'll see you all tomorrow.